to the Daily Bite. I'm your host, Pastor Steve Andrews. Today's chapter is 1 Kings 15. Now in the 18th year of King Jeroboam the son of Nebat, Abijam began to reign over Judah. He reigned for 3 years in Jerusalem. His mother's name was Maacah, the daughter of Abishalom. And he walked in all the sins that his father did before him, and his heart was not wholly true to Yahweh his God as the heart of David his father. Nevertheless, for David's sake, Yahweh his God gave him a lamp in Jerusalem, setting up his son after him, and establishing Jerusalem, because David did what was right in the eyes of Yahweh, and did not turn aside from anything that he commanded him all the days of his life, except in the matter of Uriah the Hittite. Now there was war between Rehoboam and Jeroboam all the days of his life. The rest of the acts of Abijam and all that he did, are they not written in the book of the Chronicles of the kings of Judah? And there was war between Abijam and Jeroboam. And Abijam slept with his fathers, and they buried him in the city of David. And Asa his son reigned in his place. In the 20th year of Jeroboam king of Israel, Asa began to reign over Judah, and he reigned 41 years in Jerusalem. His mother's name was Maacah, the daughter of Abishalom. And Asa did what was right in the eyes of Yahweh, as David his father had done. He put away the male cult prostitutes out of the land, and removed all the idols that his fathers had made. He also removed Maacah his mother from being queen mother, because she had made an abominable image for Asherah. And Asa cut down her image and burned it at the brook Kidron. But the high places were not taken away. Nevertheless, the heart of Asa was wholly true to Yahweh all his days. And he brought into the house of Yahweh the sacred gifts of his father, and his own sacred gifts, silver and gold and vessels. And there was war between Asa and Baasha, king of Israel, all their days. Baasha, king of Israel, went up against Judah and built Ramah, and that he might permit no one to go out or come in to Asa the king of Judah. Then Asa took all the silver and the gold that were left in the treasures of the house of Yahweh, and the treasures of the king's house, and gave them into the hands of his servants. And King Asa sent them to Ben-Hadad the son of Tabermon, the son of Hezion, king of Syria, who lived in Damascus, saying, Let there be a covenant between me and you, as there was between my father and your father. Behold, I am sending to you a present of silver and gold. Go, break your covenant with Baasha king of Israel, that he may withdraw from me. And Ben-Hadad listened to King Asa, and sent the commanders of his armies against the cities of Israel, and conquered Ijon, Dan, Abel-Beth-Maachah, and all Kinneroth, with all the land of Naphtali. And when Baasha heard of it, he stopped building Ramah, and he lived in Tirzah. Then King Asa made a proclamation to all Judah. None was exempt, and they carried away the stones of Ramah and its timber, with which Baasha had been building, and with them King Asa built Geba of Benjamin and Mizpah. Now the rest of all the acts of Asa, all his might and all that he did, the cities that he built, are they not written in the book of the Chronicles of the kings of Judah? But in his old age he was diseased in his feet. And Asa slept with his fathers, and was buried with his fathers in the city of David his father, and Jehoshaphat his son reigned in his place. Nadab the son of Jeroboam began to reign over Israel in the 2nd year of Asa king of Judah, and he reigned over Israel 2 years. He did what was evil in the sight of Yahweh, and walked in the way of his father, and in his sin which he made Israel to sin. Baasha the son of Ahijah of the house of Issachar conspired against him, and Baasha struck him down at Gibbethon, which belonged to the Philistines, for Nadab and all Israel were laying siege to Gibbethon. So Baasha killed him in the 3rd year of Asa the king of Judah, and reigned in his place. And as soon as he was king, he killed all the house of Jeroboam. He left to the house of Jeroboam not one that breathed, until he had destroyed it, according to the word of Yahweh that he spoke by his servant Ahijah the Shilonite. It was for the sins of Jeroboam that he sinned, and that he made Israel to sin, and because of the anger to which he provoked Yahweh the God of Israel. Now the rest of the acts of Nadab and all that he did, are they not written in the book of the Chronicles of the kings of Israel? And there was war between Asa and Baasha king of Israel all their days. In the 3rd year of Asa, king of Judah, Baasha the son of Ahijah began to reign over all Israel at Tirzah, and he reigned 24 years. He did what was evil in the sight of Yahweh, and walked in the way of Jeroboam, and in his sin, which he made Israel to sin. This is the word of the Lord. So in our text today, we're examining several of the different kings of both Judah and Israel. So we start out in chapter 15 with Abijam ruling over Jerusalem. This is the 4th remaining year of Jeroboam's rule, so probably around 914 BC that he takes over the throne. We learn his mother's name is Maacah, the daughter of Abijam. That doesn't seem to matter any until we get to the next king here in just a minute, so hold on to that name. We learn that he walked in the sins of that his father had done before him, so his heart's not wholly true to Yahweh. We're learning, just like Rehoboam did all these pagan things and built all these high places and had the male cult prostitutes and just all kinds of abominations before God, Abijam does the same. So as you're counting, as you're keeping score with your kids, good kings and bad kings over Israel and Judah, yesterday's text had us at 1 bad king for each, Rehoboam and Jeroboam. After today's chapter, your count's going to be up to 3 bad kings over Israel, 1 good king over Judah, and 2 bad kings over Judah. So if you're keeping score, that's our tally so far. We have, out of 6 men, 1 good king, and that's going to be Asa. We'll come to him in just a moment. The Lord, Yahweh, gives him a lamp in Jerusalem for David's sake. So for David's sake, you could talk to your kids, see if they know what that means. That comes up a lot here in the book of Kings. It's a reference to 2 Samuel 7, that God had made a promise to David that one of his sons would sit on his throne after him forever. Ultimately, that points us forward to Jesus. But at least temporarily, God is keeping this promise physically right there directly through the descendants of David. That gets cut off eventually because of their unfaithfulness. But ultimately, it does point us to Jesus, who sits on the throne even yet to this day, the throne over God's people, which is the church. All right, so as we see the reflection then of David, it's mentioned that he did everything God commanded of him all the days of his life, except one thing, in the matter of Uriah the Hittite. Maybe not for little kids, one that you'll review, but if you've got older children at home, talk about it. What happened here? What's that a reference to? Uriah the Hittite was a soldier, actually one of David's mighty men, and David had him struck down because of an affair with Bathsheba, Uriah's wife. There was a lot wrong in that account. It was definitely a wicked thing that the king had done. We read that there's war between Rehoboam and Jeroboam all the days of his life. That's a reference to Judah and Israel, respectively. And that language is going to get changed now as we move forward through the text. Asa, his son, reigns in his place. And that's where the next section starts. This is 912 BC, two years left in Jeroboam's reign over Israel. Asa takes over Judah. He's going to reign 41 years. That's one of the longest reigns of the kings of Israel or Judah that we'll see. I have not looked ahead and really tracked each one, but that's a lengthy reign. Most of them aren't near that long. The oddest note in the whole chapter is verse 10. His mother's name was Maacah, the daughter of Abijam. What does this mean? The Lutheran Study Bible indicates that this could mean grandmother and just a reference to essentially lineage and power, a matriarchy kind of thing. That's a potential. But knowing the evil of Abijam and all the sinful abominations of pagan practices and male cult prostitutes and stuff he was willing to have going on, it probably wouldn't be terribly surprising if he did end up having a child by his own mother. So that's at least a possibility here within the text. But this child, this son, Asa, verse 11, he's going to be our one good king so far, did what was right in the eyes of Yahweh. He put away the male cult prostitutes. He removed the idols that people had made. He removed Maacah, his mother, from being queen mother because she had made an abominable image for Asherah. Cut down that image, burned it, But, verse 14, the high places were not taken away, so pagan practices still existed in Judah during his reign. Verse 15 seems pretty empty when you read the paragraph after it. He brought the vessels into the house of Yahweh, so God allows some restoration, but he's going to give it all away pretty shortly here. As war between Asa and Baasha all their days, Baasha begins to fight against Judah. He builds Ramah, just 5 miles to the north of Jerusalem, Judah's capital. So he's close. He's mounting for war here in a sense. And Asa is going to take all his silver and all his gold out of Yahweh's house, so out of the temple, and send it off to the king of Syria, Ben-Hadad, asking for his help. This is one you can talk about with your children, good or bad. We've had this conversation come up already in the book of Kings before. Asa ought not to be seeking a military alliance with Syria for help. Where should he have turned for help? He should have prayed to the Lord. He should have entrusted himself and his sons and his people to God, because they're ultimately God's people. This is God's nation. God will defend it, should it need defending. But he doesn't trust that. So even though he's a good king, he still shows weakness here. He's still not a perfect man. There's only one of those, and it's going to be one of the descendants of David, but we're 900 years away from that still. So King Asa, as Ben-Hadad does what he asked. I mean, Ben-Hadad takes the bribe, turns sides, and destroys many of the cities of northern Israel, including the entire land of Naphtali, one entire inheritance of one of the 12 tribes. King Asa takes all the stones that were being used to build Ramah and builds 2 cities from it. That tells you how big of a stronghold Baasha was trying to build there. After him, Jehoshaphat will reign in his place. We'll learn about Jehoshaphat not today, but in the future. Nadab, in 910 BC, takes over as the son of Jeroboam over the land of Israel. He only goes for 2 years, and he does what is evil in the sight of Yahweh, walks in the way of his father, and in his sin which he made Israel to sin. Every Israelite king is going to meet that description. So talk about this one with your kids. What is that sin of his father that he did and made the people do? It's still a reference back to those 2 golden calves that Jeroboam set up in Bethel and Dan to have the people worship those idols rather than worship God. So the institution of pagan practices is the major theme that's going to continue throughout Israel's history moving forward. Baasha, from Issachar, another tribe of the north, conspires against him. And what we learn is Nadab and Israel are actually fighting against the Philistines, and as they're in the middle of battle, Baasha goes and kills Nadab. And imagine. This would be like the United States in battle, going to war somewhere, and one of the soldiers kills his commanding officer. This is traitorous. Baasha has done this evil thing, and all to claim the throne. But he does, and then he also fulfills the prophecy from chapter 14 yesterday of Ahijah the Shilonite, that the house of Jeroboam would be wiped out forever. He destroys them. And we learn in verse 30, he's destroying them. God is doing this in his judgment because of the sins that Jeroboam committed and made Israel to sin. So again, a reference to their pagan worship, those golden calves. But what do we read? Verse 34 of Baasha, he did what was evil in the sight of Yahweh and walked in the way of Jeroboam and in his sin, which he made Israel to sin. So just like Jeroboam inherits his kingdom because Solomon had been unfaithful and Rehoboam had been unfaithful, now Baasha inherits his kingdom because Jeroboam had been unfaithful, and yet Baasha still will not be faithful. Seeing a pattern? 909 BC, roughly, when Baasha takes over, and we'll finish talking about Baasha in the text tomorrow.